Hello, I'm the 10-minute English teacher. Let's get you exam ready. Today we're getting ready for Key Stage 2 Stats, and I'm going to be telling you about how to write about characters and settings. Before we get going, don't forget to like and subscribe. There are plenty of things on the channel to help you revise for your Key Stage 2 Stats. Okay, my guide to writing about settings and characters. Before we set off, let's just think about what we're assessed for when it comes to Key Stage 2 writing. Your teacher looks for evidence of a range of skills and a selection of pieces of writing that are completed in class independently by you. You will be awarded one of 3 grades, working towards expected standard, or greater depth. So let's think about describing settings. Here you've got an image of a village, and my recommendation to you is to go from big to small. Here's an example of some bigger details that I might describe. The sun was rising over the village. The trees in the street still had their leaves, but they were getting more red every day. So in that passage, we've got some of the bigger details being described. We've got the sun, the village, and we've got trees. Big and also more obvious details being described at the beginning of my text there. Now let's focus on some of the smaller and less obvious details. An old man looked out of his window and watched a cat stroll leisurely across the road. A single crow passed overhead, pushed along by the gentle morning breeze. The postman lifted his heavy bag from his van and put it over his shoulder and begun his round. So we've got this piece of writing now that is focusing on some of the smaller, less obvious details. We've got a cat, we've got a bag being put on a postman's back, and we've got a breeze, and we've got a bird in the sky. So we've had our big obvious details to place your reader in the setting, and now we're focusing on some of the smaller details or some of the less obvious ones. Another thing that you can do is think about not only what can be seen, which is what we've just done, but let's think about what can be heard and felt as well. So here's an example. It was a quiet start to the day. A bird's song from high in a tree was the only thing to break the silence. That and the sounds of the postman's footsteps and old garden gates being gently opened by him. Now, there's nothing too complicated there, but the ideas there are a little bit more subtle and a little more interesting, because what we've done is think about what we can hear in this setting as well. You could also have the feeling of the cold or the warmth or the breeze that could be included here. So we're not just writing about what we can see. When it comes to describing characters, the same things can apply. So we want to go from big to small. Here's an example of that. And to help you, I've put the bigger, more obvious details in bigger font. Sarah had dark hair. She was wearing glasses. So we've got someone with dark hair and glasses, bigger and more obvious details. And now we're going to become a little bit more interesting by focusing in on some less obvious, more subtle details about this character. So she was wearing glasses that sat high on her nose, the ones that made her look quite serious. She'd undone the top button on her red shirt, for it was too tight around her neck when it was done up. She liked it in the shop and it had cost a lot of money, but now she was beginning to wish she hadn't bought it. Another thing we can do with our character is we can include backstory, which means a little bit of detail about their life. So here we have Sarah was longing for a holiday. It had been 2 years since she'd been away, when she'd gone to France with her sister and was feeling fed up. So I've included a little bit of detail about her life prior to the moment that we're in with our reader. Here's a practice task for you. Think about this setting. We've got a mountain range. Go from big to small. Think about what can be seen, heard, and also maybe felt. Is it a cold setting? Is the ground soft? That sort of thing. As we introduce our character, and here's a rather stereotypical explorer for you to introduce. So take your reader into this setting, think about big to small, not only what can be seen, and then with your character, describe him going big to small, and then also include a little bit of backstory. Okay, check out the other videos on my channel. I'll continue to add content. Feel free to ask for something you'd like to see me cover in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share, and keep revising.